Okay, so this article focuses on a lot on sibling rivalry, which pertains primarily to my topic. And it focuses on different aspects of it, but they talk about and define sibling rivalry as the competition between siblings for the love, affection, and attention of the parents. So in the article, they say how the primary problem is that parents give more attention to the younger siblings since they are new to the family, and so the older siblings tend to feel left out, and they tend to feel like they're being neglected, which causes them to be, which they talk about, causes them to be more aggressive towards the younger siblings, hesitant towards the younger siblings, and usually just in essence doesn't prefer them as much. They talk about how to manage the rivalry between the siblings, and they tell this by saying that mothers are usually holding the baby more because they have to, take care of them, like breastfeeding and things like that. So since the father isn't doing this, they should be spending time with the older sibling. This way, they know that they are not being neglected and that they are loved by their parents, because sometimes they feel like they aren't, even though they are. So this study is a clinical study, and it involves interviews among different families, and they interview how the older siblings are, the younger siblings are, the age gap between the siblings. They talk about how they interview about the behaviors of the older and younger siblings to see how they're affected, the behaviors are affected by the siblings. Then in the articles, they found that the older siblings are more aggressive, usually when they're younger, and then after a certain age point, usually around 8ish, the rivalry tends to be less intense since the siblings are able to understand more about how they're supposed to act and how situations are placed. And the big issue is that the siblings don't know their place in their families. And so by having them be older, they're able to understand more where their placement in their family is. It briefly talks about how the older sibling is more likely to hit, punch, push, kick, bite the younger sibling. And although it's rare, it does say that sometimes there can be serious abuse by siblings. And in these situations, things have to be done, and it's usually because of the jealousy. So the parents really have to help to make sure that no siblings getting more privileges over the other one. Usually the younger sibling becomes more compelled to not like the older sibling because they have to get hand-me-downs slash secondhand things, since they see that the older sibling gets things new since they're the first ones to get things, and then since the second sibling usually does what the one did before, like books and clothes for school, they usually have to have the hand-me-downs, which makes them less liking among the siblings, and they usually tend to fight or argue more and have more rivalry among them. It also talks about how since when the siblings are together in certain aspects, like if they do certain sports together, and also in academics, they tend to be more aggressive. It also says how the children that grow up with severe sibling rivalry tend to be more selfish, aggressive, destructive, indecisive, and insecure people. And this is the main things about what the article talks about.